And for the second year in a row, the Oregon Ducks embarrass themselves when it matters most. Welcome in, everybody, to a truly dumbfounded episode of the Soder Report. I'm your host, Kyle Soder, and I'm here after the Oregon-Indiana game, the most piss-poor performance in the playoffs since last year when Oregon was in the playoffs. Just so you guys know, halftime this year was 35-7 for Indiana. Halftime last year was 34-8 for Ohio State. So truly, Dan is reaching new highs. Dan Lanning and this coaching staff reaching new highs, finding more ways to get past what we thought was truly impossible in the past by embarrassing themselves even worse this year. And this was the biggest game. I understand they made it to the semifinal playoff game. First time Oregon has played in a playoff game, in a semifinal playoff game, since the Rose Bowl in 2015. But this is horrible. This is embarrassing. And it's unacceptable that a coach with as much talent as Dan Lanning has had, as much talent as Oregon has had over the past few years, it's unacceptable that you can lose like this multiple years in a row. It's embarrassing. And I hope we all like the coordinators in the building that are here right now, because Dan Lanning thinks Drew Maringer and Chris Hampton are good enough to take over this team next year. And I know I endorsed the Chris Hampton hiring. He was the recruiter of the year last year. But Drew Maringer, they need to go outside. They need to go outside the organization, because they don't have someone on the offensive side of the ball that can do this job the way that, I don't know, Chip Kelly did it for Ohio State last year. And Matt Patricia has done it for Ohio State this year. And they don't have Will Stein. I don't even know where to start. I could start with Will Stein. I could start with Tosh Lupoy. I could start with Dante Moore. I could start with Dan Lanning. It's awful everywhere. Tonight was awful everywhere. Let's start with Dan Lanning. Head coach of a program that has routinely been bringing in top 5 recruiting classes. Has brought in some of the best transfers in the country year after year after year. You had Bo Nix. You had Dylan Gabriel. This year you've got Dante Moore. You brought in Dylan Thieneman. And you can't get it done. You can't get it done. Not only can you not get it done, you embarrass yourself. And you bring in more negative perception around the Oregon football program than if you just didn't play in the playoffs at all. Texas has a better perception in the public eye than Oregon does right now. Because they missed the playoff, they won their bowl game. No one really cares. Everyone knows that's supposed to be a good team. And Oregon 2 years in a row now getting embarrassed on the biggest stage. It's unacceptable. You had more talent than Indiana. I understand they're older, but you have the talent edge. And this is 2 years in a row. I'm not even going to spend a lot of time on Tosh Lupoy. He had a bad game. He's gone. Will Stein had a bad game. He's gone. So, good riddance, I guess. Win or go home games. Win under Dan Lanning. In win or go home games. I know that he's won big games, okay? I know that he beat Ohio State in week 5 last year. I know he beat Penn State in week 5 this year. I know he won the Big Ten championship. So he's won big games. But in win or go home games, he's 2-2. No. He's 2-3. He lost to Kalen DeBoer in a rematch. He lost to Ohio State in a rematch. But hey, he beat James Madison. He beat the group of 5 school that snuck in at the very back end of a very flawed playoff system. They were ranked, the 24th best team in the country? And clearly you had a talent edge at every gap. So you beat them. Congratulations in a win or go home game. And you beat Texas Tech, who is a good team. They had a 26-day layoff, but they're a good team. And you beat them. So congratulations. But you lost to Kalen DeBoer in a rematch. You lost to Ryan Day in a rematch. And you lost to Kurt Signetti in a rematch. You know what that's telling me? That's telling me that these coaches are making better adjustments than Dan Lanning is. These coaches and these coordinators are making better adjustments. They are watching the film. They are creating unique game plans better than Dan Lanning and his staff is doing year after year. And it's not just one. It's not just Kurt Signetti. It's Kurt Signetti, it's Ryan Day, it's Kalen DeBoer, all out coaching Dan Lanning in their rematches. They get to see Dan Lanning, they get to see his tendencies of his coordinators as well. They make adjustments and they take them to the woodshed and they slaughter them. And it's embarrassing. It is embarrassing to be an Oregon fan today. So, let's talk about Dante Moore, I guess. 3 turnovers, pick 6 on the very first play of the game. Yeah, that's a play that they've run in practice all week. I think that Will Stein is on record saying they script 15 plays to start the game. So they have run the 15-play sequence that you saw to start the game all week. They've run that all week. And it's just a pre-snap read. Look at your guy. Look at Malik Benson. Look at D'Angelo Ponce. Ponce has outside leverage, so don't throw the out route. You've been practicing this all week. You saw this team in October. Watch the film. And so that was an inexcusable decision. He had Jamari Johnson on the other side of the field wide open. That was an awful decision to start the game, but credit to him for driving down the next drive and putting the ball in the end zone. And then Dyer Hill runs into Dante Moore's football. Dante Moore goes back to throw it, and De'Aaron Hill runs into the ball, and Indiana gets the ball inside the 10-yard line, scores a touchdown. And I understand that's not on Dante Moore. Again, I think this is a coaching thing. How is De'Aaron Hill not experienced enough at this point of the season with as many game reps as he's had to have made a mistake like that? On the broadcast, they're calling it inexperience on De'Aaron Hill. Why is he inexperienced? Why can he not run an RPO? Why is he not prepared? Why has the coaching staff not prepared him to run a simple RPO? So that was frustrating. And then, obviously, Dante Moore gets strip sacked for the third turnover of the game. Really, I sort of put that on the play calling. It's 3rd and long. You should know Indiana's coming with pressure. They're coming with an exotic look. You gotta call something to get the ball out. And if there was something there, which there has been this year, Dante's missed wide open reads. If that was there, then that's on him. But if that was a long developing route to try to get all of your receivers past the sticks, that's on Stein. Now, I've gotten this far in, and some people might be saying that Oregon has been dealing with injuries and an unfair transfer portal. And that is ridiculous. I don't give a damn about Jordan Davison's injury or the transfer portal. First of all, everyone's dealing with the transfer portal. Everyone is. All the teams that were in the playoff these past couple days are dealing with the transfer portal. So I don't want to hear that. And second of all, if Oregon's national championship hopes were riding on Jordan Davison staying healthy, then they didn't deserve to be there in the first place. Jordan Davison goes down with a broken clavicle, and you turn into this bad of a team, this inexperienced of a team, this sloppy of a team. You don't deserve to go to the national championship. You didn't deserve to be here. Congratulations on beating James Madison and Texas Tech off of 26 days rest, though. So, obviously we're all frustrated. Obviously, this is the darkest day of Oregon football's history since January 1st, 2025, which was not that long ago. But it's just discouraging. Before the game, I said that if Oregon can match Indiana's physicality, then they just need their stars to be stars and they'll win this game. Ha! Ha! Oh my gosh, hang that take from the banners, because what an awful, awful take. First of all, they didn't match Indiana's physicality. They were running all over them. Indiana ran all over Oregon in the first half, and Oregon couldn't run the ball. By the way, for just one more thing about Jordan Davison being injured. Jay Harris played perfectly fine in that first half. I have no issues with Jay Harris. He looked like a perfectly capable running back. In fact, he looked like the best player on Oregon in the first half. He was the best player on Oregon's team in the first half. So, Jordan Davison being out with an injury, being the reason they lose this game, is laughable. That's absolutely not the reason they lost this game. They lost this game because their coaching was awful. The execution was awful. And the team just came into the game and they looked like they weren't ready. They looked like the moment was too big for them, which, back to coaching. Right back to coaching. I guess we can talk about the defense. I have some notes on the defense. I was incredibly frustrated with the fact that they couldn't get Fernando Mendoza to throw an incomplete pass. I was incredibly frustrated with the fact that they couldn't get off the field on third down. They brought vanilla looks on third down. They weren't doing any of the blitzes. They weren't doing anything exotic on defense. And from the pregame interviews, you would think that Tosh Lupoy was locked in. You would have thought that he had been studying a lot to try to get ready for this game. And maybe he was. But you couldn't tell. You couldn't tell when it came game time. So, and your players, Mateo did nothing. I didn't hear Mateo's name on the broadcast. When I watched him, he just... 3rd and 12, he was setting the edge. Like, do a swim move, do a rip move, do something to try to get past the tackle, man. Thieneman, I saw him make one tackle close to the line of scrimmage. So, your defensive stars did nothing. Brandon Finney got beat on a few out routes. He got beat over the top for a touchdown. Your defensive stars didn't show up. And on offense, DeCorian Moore had his first catch in the third quarter. It's tough to... I'm not going to go in on DeCorian because his coach got him hurt in a practice that kept him out for 2 months. So I'm not going to blame DeCorian for getting hurt in practice. That's another thing. Noah Whittington. Everyone was saying it was an illness. It wasn't an illness. It was turf toe. So I wish I wrote down a list of players. Let's think of how many star players got hurt, how many starters got hurt in practice this year. DeCorian Moore got hurt in practice. Kenyon Sadiq got hurt in practice. Noah Whittington got hurt in practice when he was the one person you had to keep healthy. Alex Harkey got hurt in practice. Isaiah World got hurt in practice. I might be missing some. I'm probably missing some. But you're getting all of these guys hurt in practice, man. I know that you have to get this team ready to be a physical team. But you can't get these guys hurt in practice. Especially Whittington this week. You knew how thin your running back room was. You had to keep Whittington healthy. I know it's a lot easier said than done, but you have to figure out something. You have to work with your medical staff, work with your athletic trainers. What was Nick Saban doing at Alabama? What was Kirby Smart doing at Georgia? You have to be physical, but you can't get every one of your starters hurt in practice. So I'm not gonna blame DeCorian Moore for not being up to speed for the playoffs, because it really wasn't reasonable to expect that. It was reasonable to expect Kenyon Sadiq to get some touches. I saw him touch the ball one time for -1 yard, so that was bad, to say the least. So obviously this sucks, and honestly, I don't even want to turn my attention to the future right now. Just the game's going on, by the way. I turned it off because I'm going to go to bed early. Maybe I'll get a workout in, which I guess is charitable by Dan Lanning. I guess that's charitable by the Oregon coaching staff to allow us all to get productive things done tonight and go to bed early. Thank you. Thank you for that. We can, I don't know. I clean the house when I'm angry. So this place is going to be spotless, just like it was last year on January 1st. But I guess let's turn the page. Let's not even turn the page. What did they have? What did they lack this year that they need to fix in the transfer portal starting tomorrow? Which, by the way, Indiana's already got their quarterback for next year. Oregon has gotten a kicker, a punter, and a long snapper, which I refuse to talk about because I talk about football players here, not kickers and punters and long snappers. But they need football players in the transfer portal. They need a linebacker because the linebacking unit was the weakest part of this defense. They need a corner to go opposite of Finney. I like Obadegwu, but don't let him stop you from doing better. You're going to have to find a replacement for Jaden Kennedy. So you need another corner. You need a safety to replace Dylan Thieneman. I've heard about Minnesota's safety, Coy Parrish. I don't know anything about him, but I've heard his name get thrown around. You need some running backs. Holy crap, you need some running backs. And then you need some tackles, because I defended Harkey and World quite a bit throughout the year, but you need to do better at offensive tackle. And it's going to help that next year you're going to get Poncho back. I don't know what this performance does. I would imagine if I was an NFL scout, then I dropped Dante Moore's stock by a couple of rounds. But if he leaves, then you'll need a quarterback. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But do you really... Everyone keeps saying that Dan Lanning is going to win a national championship within the next 5 years. What has he done to give people so much confidence in saying that? Beat Texas Tech? Beat James Madison? That doesn't... The games against Ohio State and Indiana are the ones I'm looking at. So I don't. Obviously emotional right now. Obviously venting. But I don't see what Dan Lanning has done to inspire so much confidence. Because I don't think there's anyone in college football doing less with as much as Dan Lanning has. You've had top 5 high school recruiting classes for 4 straight years. You've got Phil Knight money. You've got the best transfer portal classes year after year. Top 5, top 10 every year. And you're not sniffing... You should be doing more. You were the most talented team left in the field. You were the best team left in the field. Maybe, no, you weren't. I take that back. You weren't the best team in the field. You had the most talented players, but you did not coach them into being the best team. So I hope we all enjoy watching Mario Cristobal play for a national championship in 10 days in his home stadium. Or I hope we all enjoy watching Curt Cignetti turn around Indiana in a matter of 2 years. Play for a national championship. Oregon's been on the doorstep for 15, and they haven't gotten it done. Not Chip Kelly, not Mark Helfrich, not Mario Cristobal, not Dan Lanning. And I'm at a loss for words right now. I don't even know what you do. Where do you even go from right here? I'd start with an elite offensive coordinator from the NFL or something. I'd start with getting transfer players from those positions that I named. But if they get back in the college football playoff next year and on paper they've got the most talented team, do we expect them to win a national championship? Do we expect Dan Lanning and his staff to outcoach another elite coaching staff? Because I don't think that I can say that with any confidence right now. So maybe there are some people who are super optimistic who take exception to some stuff that I've said. If so, then that's fine. I just expect more from this football program. I expect this football program to get over the hill. So that's going to be it. Yeah, go and do whatever helps you cope with rage. Cleaning, working out, eating cookies, drinking, whatever. If you're drinking, then just don't do it like a Georgia Bulldog football player. Don't drink and drive. But that's going to be it from me. I don't have anything left. So drop your thoughts below. Please like and subscribe to the channel. And what do I like? Should I even say have a good night? Do something to help you cope with the rage that Oregon has caused you for the 15th year in a row. So, see ya.